Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous night of the local time. First we're going to talk about Zelensky. We're going to continue discussion his events, his trips. According to information we have, Zelensky yesterday made a video where he was talking with the Ukrainians, and he told that from now on the Ukrainians are no longer able to continue any offensive operation, and that the Ukrainians are going to use the complete and deep defense state. They're planning to build significant number of fortifications, not just along the combat line, let's say behind Avdiivka, Marinka and so on. The Ukrainians are planning to build more fortifications on the border with Belarus, on the border with Kupiansk, Belgorod area regions of Russian Federation, and so on. And you need to understand one important thing, that all these buildings, all these constructions will be paid by the Western countries, by the NATO countries. So from my perspective, I believe that the Ukrainians are planning, and Zelensky is planning to build fortifications, but from the other side I understand that this is another scheme of corruption, another scheme where people from Ukraine will get more money and will become even more richer than they used to be. Another important update that during the previous day, Zelensky visited another stronghold, another headquarters in Zaporizhzhia. He talked with the commanders and headquarters of Zaporizhzhia direction. He talked a lot, and basically the video about the building of fortifications appeared after this video. So I'll remind you that the last time, for example, yesterday we discussed that Zelensky visited Kupiansk area. We got updates that Zelensky was in Kherson direction. So basically now he's moving along the combat line, talking with generals, trying maybe to get some information face to face. But the most important, that if you remember, the last time Zelensky was moving from one city to another city took place somewhere in the spring of the 2023, and after those visits the Ukrainians started their greatest counteroffensive operation. I'm not saying that the Ukrainians are planning to do something like this, but obviously they're planning to do something. Now we are moving to Kherson direction. We got few updates from this territory. The Russian sources published another video how they managed to discover the Ukrainian Su-25 in the airfields of Kryvyi Rog, and as a result of Lancet strike, that aircraft was destroyed. So I'll remind you that just during the previous summer we got about 4 or 5 geolocations from this territory, from the same airport, how the Russians were destroying the Ukrainian air forces. Of course, the Ukrainians start saying that that was not real, it was a fake aircraft, but whatever. Now we are moving to the original Kherson direction, and we got also interesting update. The sources are saying that on this scene we can see how the Russians managed to shut down the Ukrainian helicopter Mi-8 that later fell down above the city by the name of Tyaginka. So as you can see, the Russian fire above the city is very heavy. Tyaginka is currently the most, we can see the heaviest Russian focus, the biggest Russian focus in this area. Lots of armored vehicles, artillery systems have been destroyed on this territory, which reduced the Ukrainian possibilities on the Russian bank of the river. The Ukrainians tried to counterattack, tried to discover the Russian positions. For example, in this video we see how the Ukrainians bombed Kherson with HIMARS strikes. According to the author of this video, all these strikes are made by HIMARS, but I can't tell you for sure. All these strikes took place, as you can see, probably at night. Maybe just regular artillery strikes, but anyway, the Ukrainians tried to counterattack, but as we can see, not always they can do this effectively. Furthermore, when talking about the common situation in Kherson direction, the Russians reported that they start using modified drones. For example, on this video we can see the new Russian drone Privet 82. This is something like between FPV drone and Lancet. It's much cheaper than Lancet, but much more powerful than the regular FPV drone. This drone can fly deep for around 30 kilometers and can carry up to 5.5 kilos of payloads. Furthermore, the Russians managed to improve another like the most of the famous important drone by the name of Orlan. If you remember, Orlan, it was, at least used to be, the reconnaissance drone, but the Russians improved this drone, and now this reconnaissance drone are able to carry 2 bombs. As you can see, 2 bombs can be put below the aircraft, below the drone, and now this is not just like a reconnaissance drone, but also this drone can bomb the Ukrainian forces in Ukrainian positions. So as you can see, the Russians are improving their forces. And now we are moving further. We haven't received almost anything from Zaporizhzhia area, just regular clashes. The Russians published the video of destroyed Ukrainian Leopard. somewhere in this area as a result of FPV drone strike. That Leopard was abandoned by the Ukrainian forces, and the Russians not to give the Ukrainian possibilities to evacuate machine, just destroy it with FPV drone. Neither the Russians were able to do this, obviously. When talking about South Donetsk and Avdiivka direction, we have few updates from this territory. The Russians continue bombardments of Novomikhailivka with FAB 500, but yet they haven't started another wave or the next wave of ground operation or offensive. When talking about Avdiivka, as you can see, there are almost nothing. Just one report from the Russian and the Ukrainian source that the Russians returned control completely over the, not the over entire Stepo, but at least over the eastern part. So we have updated the map, and the western part is in the gray zone, and today probably the clashes will continue. The Ukrainians from their side also published few videos of FPV drone strikes against the Russian infantry, Russian soldiers who are moving along the railways, along the roads. So this territory, we are using this video just to geolocate the Russian presence and the Russian control on the southern part of Avdiivka. Now we are moving further to Bakhmut, Artyomov's direction. The Russians continue their offensive operation further in direction of Bogdanovka and let's say Canal, Chasov Yar. If you remember, yesterday we discussed that. According to some Russians, the Russians managed to penetrate the Ukrainian defense belt and to enter Bogdanovka. Yet we haven't received any confirmation of that piece of news, so that's why we will not update the map, and we're gonna wait for more updates from this territory. And when talking about Kupiansk and Liman front lines, we have a lot of very interesting updates exactly from Kupiansk direction. For example, the Russians reported that when talking about the Sinkovka, according to information we have, the 57th Brigade, 57th Motorized Brigade, this is the brigade, is responsible for protecting this village, and according to information we have from the Russian sources, this brigade have almost lost its combat capabilities. So the situation is very difficult, and the clashes in Sinkovka continues. Furthermore, we got more updates from our new FPV drone operator Udai, who make his own diary calculations. We have already discussed him in the previous video. So today is his 15th day of clashes of FPV drone bombardments on the territory of Ukraine, and according to this 15th day of his hunting, this operator managed to reduce the Ukrainian army from 98 soldiers till 105. So just imagine yourself that for another 15 days of work, if you can call it like this drone operator managed to reduce the Ukrainian army for 105 soldiers. So that means that in 2 months, in 1 month, if we will, let's say, use the raw mathematics, in 1 month this operator can reduce the Ukrainian army for 200, let's say, soldiers. So that means that in 2 months one soldier can reduce the Ukrainian army for 1 battalion. So that means that in a year, this one soldier, one FPV successful, experienced and successful FPV drone operator is able to reduce enemy's army, Ukrainian army or Russian army, whatever, from which side, doesn't matter, for 1 brigade. Just imagine yourself the ratio and the what are we talking about? 1 soldier in a year can reduce the enemy's army for 1 brigade. It's significant numbers. It's a very big numbers. We'll follow this Udai, let's say, FPV drone operator, because he provides some calculations just to understand and imagine what is going on the ground. Also, the Russians launched an offensive operation, another attempt to attack the Ukrainian positions along the road between Petropavlov and Karlyanka. The video was published by the 14th Mechanized Brigade of Ukrainian Army, and the Russians during attack lost few armored vehicles and tanks. This video was provided by the Ukrainian forces, so that's why we shouldn't expect some like victorious Russian attacks, mainly the losses. But anyway, we see that the clashes continues and the Russians are getting closer to the road. Furthermore, some sources reported that as a result of clashes, the Russians managed to establish control over this empty village. There are maybe 2 or 3 buildings, but anyway, according to some sources, as a result of clashes, the Russians established control over this territory. For now, we haven't received even a single geolocated confirmation of this, but I believe that maybe during the day we're going to receive some. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, share my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.